Okay, we're back on the panhead motor here. So, I went racing this weekend, so now I'm back. Where we left off, we wanted to see if there's any oil leakage coming out of the gasket. It looks like after I got all the hardware tightened down, it quit leaking because there's no liquid coming out of it anymore. So we can go ahead and start putting this thing back together. So I gotta get finish up the oil pump, putting all the parts in it. So that's basically, you got the pressure relief valve to put back in, the ball, the springs, and the hardware to put it back on. And then we'll start working on get the cam and stuff set up in there. So let's get this up on the tripod here and get some work done. Alright, I think I can see over here. So first thing I do is get the fitting the bottom of the pump, which looks like it's not sitting here. Where did I put it? It's over there drying from the paint. I painted a couple days ago. So this one we had to make the plug for the bottom here. So now this is ready to go into the pump. So I'm going to put a little Teflon paste on it here. It's just white stuff, looks like toothpaste. I'm not much a fan of Teflon tape, so I use the pipe sealant. Make sure nothing goes on the inside. I'm going to put that on there. And it looks like it's going to hit that nut right there. Yep, there it is. Always got one more problem on this job, so I got to pull that back off. As I recall, that was tight. There we go. Make sure you don't lose the washer sitting there. That's how you adjust the orifice of flow, because you got the taper screw there, goes in a hole. Of course we blocked that off, so it's non-functional. But it could be functional again if you want it to be. So it looks to me like this is not going to go in this spot. I wonder if it's supposed to go on the return side. Up here, probably. That'd be my guess. Makes no sense why it'd be on the return side, because that's where the pressure would be for flowing it. Of course, that gets in the way of everything else. All right. Get my crescent. Okay, I'm not exactly sure the angle that's supposed to be at. I suspect it's supposed to go up like this, but I'm not sure, so I'm going to leave it at that angle. I can always tighten it a little bit more. So now I got to get this in here. So now that big ass fitting on there, you got no room to put the hardware on that's supposed to be on it. Nope, it's hitting. Nothing is fitting as usual. There was an extra nut floating around here somewhere. Alright, looks like we're in a holding pattern again. Alright, let me go find some more hardware. We'll be back. Okay, we're back. trying to figure out fittings here. So this is not clearing everything. So I went and got my 61 to 71 parts book. And it shows what fittings are supposed to be on there, which is 2 of these 45-degree fittings right here. And this is the one that came on the bike, so I know they use this, but it looks like they also use just straight naked fittings on it too. But I can't find any of these fittings anywhere in the whole shop. So I'm kind of stuck. All I can find are these Gardner Westcott ones right here, which are basically a real thin style 45. Doesn't give you a lot of room to open them up for flow. This has a relatively small hole in here for feed. See how much bigger it is on this side. And I can't just drill this out real big because it's real thin through here, so it kind of limits what I can do. But I think I'm going to go ahead and open it up. I went over and found the correct nuts, so I got a thin nut here, and then I got a short style nut instead of a long one that came off of the bike. I mean, that was supposed to be on the bike. It's supposed to take this long one, so they used this short one that was on here. That's what they used to clear this big fitting, because this one hits this big fitting. So my options is to fix the problem. So I do have a new fitting right here, which is a short one, so I can correct that problem with this one. The other option is I can put 2 of these on there and eliminate the big fitting. So those are the 2 different ways of doing it. And the customer's not here to tell me which way he prefers. So it looks a lot better with the thin ones on there than the big fat ugly one. So I'm thinking maybe that's the direction he wants to go, but I don't know. I guess we'll find out. We'll just do it, and if you don't like it, we'll redo it. So next thing I do, I'm going to go drill these out to get a little more flow through these, because I don't like the restricted flow that these have. So let's go and drill press and work on that. That'd be called a milling machine. It's a fancy drill press. Alright, so first thing I do is get a vise up on this thing. Somebody made a big mess up here the other day. Didn't clean up after themselves. Can't imagine who would do that around here. But guess what? It's clean. Alright. Get a little vise out. Nice and light. You hold these down with studs here. Put a washer on top. Put your nut on there. Center it up a little bit. There. It's tight. Tight. A little bit of drill chuck to go in the hole. A lot of work doing this. Okay, I need some drills. So I got to pick a drill over here in the drill index. It's going to fit anywhere around here. Here, does that get anybody a headache? Alright, so we gotta pick a drill that fits in the hole here. I'm getting close. One more. And maybe one more. Jeez, one more keeps going. Let's go right to the end. Nope, that's too big. Perfect. Second from the end. Okay, that goes nice and tight in the hole there, so that's a good centering device. That's how you center it. So that's 221 thou drill. Now you go up over here to your vise. Stick in your drill chuck. Yep, don't drop it. You don't have much to chuck onto because it's cut down real thin. So that means it's being nice and dangerous. It's going to want to come out and chase after me. Yeah, this looks dangerous. I don't like danger. Chance to break stuff. Yep. Good thing I quit drilling there. Start coming out the other side. So what I did is just drill a little bit deeper, clean the hole up. So when you look down there, you can see the drill bit comes in there now all the way to the bottom. So I'm a little bit deeper than I need to be. I'm pushing it. Keep doing that, we'll drill all the way through. That'd be a bad thing. Okay, that was the same drill side. We haven't gone up yet. We just increased the flow of what we had to play with there. Bam. Tighten up so much I'm crushing the damn drill bit in there. Yep. That's how thin it is. Okay, now I'm going to drill it out to a bigger size. Go up to 1/4 inch. So 1/4 inch bit. Okay. So now we're drilled in a little bit deeper now. You can kind of see in there a little bit. That doesn't like going in there. Just came out. There it goes. See, now it's down here in the bottom of the hole down there. If you can kind of see it. It's all the way in. You come in the other direction, it's all in too. This side's a little bit bigger on this side, but I can't go that big over here because it's so thin through the cross section here. But we did increase the flow quite a bit going all the way through the whole surface there. So it comes out this side here. Now the other one's going to flow out this way and go the other way. So you gotta try to make it flow a little better. Okay, so that was one down. So I'm going to do another one. And I'm going to do the other one. I left it laying over there on the table. That's what I did with it. I did not. I just left it somewhere else. There it is. It's behind the drill indexes. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing to this one. So this is your before and after. So I'll go ahead and drill this one out. That generated a lot of heat real quick. Alright, so there's what that one looks like now. This one didn't go quite as deep, so I don't have quite as deep a shoulder on the inside. So we'll put this on the return one, so it'll flow better in that direction. Okay, so nothing to it. We'll take our deburring tool and deburr the hole here a little bit. Oop. It knocks that sharp edge off. It's kind of important. There you go, 2 done. Perfect. Alright, I'm going to get back to real work. Go work on a motor right down there. Okay, now we're going to take our fitting back out that we just put in. Somebody tighten that up. I don't know who would do that. Okay, let's go ahead and put this piece back in before we lose it. Still good for someone else to use it. Never know, somebody else, we might put that back in yet. We don't know yet. We'll see what the customer wants to do later. Okay, so now I'm going to put my tall nut back on there, whatever I did with it, right here. Alright, so I'm going to put our 2 fittings back on, or new fittings on. Get some more pipe sealant. Okay, this is going to be on the return side. This goes on the higher part of the pump. This is return, this is feed. Tight already. And then this is our idiot switch. maybe idiot light switch, or oil pressure indicator, whatever you want to call it. So that goes right at the top of this hole. Of course, it's banging right on that stud above it. Nice. There it goes. Getting so tight we can't tighten it anymore. Need a different wrench. Probably a metric wrench. Let's go see. Our metric wrench is out. Much different than that American. A little tighter. 9mm. Oh yeah. Much better. Okay, we're getting tight now. Once again, I don't know exactly where I want it to be, so I'm going to leave it a little short. And the same with that one. This one don't really have room for a socket because it's right up against that stud. Not much room for crescent wrench either, but make do. Maybe I need a metric crescent wrench to get some more room. Might fit better. Alright, we're starting to get a little bit of torque on it. One more. There we go. Okay, so we got our two lines kind of more or less close to where they need to be. Try right there. Alright, metric tool. Yep. So now we got to put our fittings in here. So now we got to put a little oil in here and a pump. We got ourselves a brand new ball right there. Running around. It goes in the hole. There it goes. Okay, you got two springs. You got a pressure release spring and you got a return spring to keep you from puking down in your motor. Call it sump springs, what I call them. Now you can stretch these things real long, but that's not too good. I'm just kind of using them the way they are. You have different effects when you do that to them. Okay, my fitting plug. Okay, this is going to use this plug right here. Now one thing you got to make sure these things work correctly is you got to make sure your springs fit inside of the plugs, because that's how they're supposed to work. If they don't fit in there, you got problems. Okay, now these do not use any kind of a seal on this plug. It just goes metal against metal. I just use an impact driver here, and it tightens it up good and tight. Use the appropriate hammer. Once it quits moving, it's tight. No reason to keep forcing it more. Alright, so we got that part of the pump done. Now we're going to do the other part. Now, I don't have it on a motor stand right now because I like being able to move my case around and work on it. Can't do this if it's on a motor stand like this. So I put a little bit of oil down here. Not that much. Okay, this takes your pressure relief valve, your pressure relief valve spring. Once again, you got to make sure the spring fits inside the valve and inside of the plug. This one takes the dome plug. It's 55 and later takes the dome plug. We got our gasket right here that goes on here to seal it. Takes a gasket on this plug. So that goes in its assembly like that. You shove it on in. For some reason that one's not going in the hole. Why is that? Should just drop right in. There it goes. The threads are a little pulled up on a diameter a little bit for whatever reason. Once I got past that, and the first about this much of the straight section, it just dropped in. If you have to force it all the way down, it won't work, so don't do that. Okay, this is a 3/4 flaps, as I call. So you grab your 3/4 inch, open in, and tighten it up. Put some decent torque on it, but don't get too carried away. It is hollow. It has a hole through it. And there's a gasket, so don't get too carried away with it. Torque it down a little bit. Okay, so that pretty well buttons up the oil pump. Make sure everything still rotates correctly. If it does, there you go. Flying along now. Okay, flip it up like this. Okay, now we got our breather valve. That should fit in there nice and easily. Spin real good, it does. So something's actually working correctly for once. Okay, put a little bit of lube on that. Now when you clean these valves out, they collect dirt on the inside and it tries to come out this way. So blowing it, getting this clean right here doesn't get all the way clean. You gotta get in here and get all the crap out of the inside. There's a lot of screen area up in there you can't get to. You just gotta keep blowing and blowing and blowing until it doesn't have any more shit hitting you in the fingers. And if you put a towel and stuff like that in there, it just puts a lot of lint in there because it just tears up all the paper and doesn't do anything. So you gotta go in there and blow it out real good. Brake clean the hell out of it, blow it. Keep doing that until nothing else comes out of there, then you know it's clean. Because every little, you know, this screen here goes all the way around the whole inside. Every one of those little holes will hold crap. And that will cause your motor to get damaged. Filthy new motors turn into junk new motors real quick. Okay, you put a little oil right there and that will hold your thrust washer in there. Wherever it went to. There it is. There's your thrust washer. We have to check that to see if it's the right thickness. The oil will help hold it in there. Okay, now here's your cam. Here's your thrust plate. It goes like this because it clears the top of the cam. I mean, not top. It clears the lifters that go in here. So you got to make sure that you do this correctly. So you can see how the case is cut out right here. So when the washer goes in, it catches in there the two titties like that, and that keeps it from rotating. So your lifters right here come in right, sit on top of this. That's why it's cut away. The lifter comes down, this inner one will hit on it. So if you put the washer in upside down, this catches on that, and your lifter will not return correctly. Kind of important that you do that correctly. And yes, I have seen a lot of them put in wrong. Okay, now you put a thrust washer on here. It's this one. This is adjustable for thickness to get your in place set. We don't know what it's going to be yet, so we'll put it together with one that came out of it. Okay, now I go ahead and time it. You got two timing marks on your gear here, because this bike takes a generator. Takes a distributor, and you have a timing mark right here that you got to play with. The other problem is you got a high lift cam. It'll probably hit on this gear on here. We're going to grind this a little bit. So this lobe here will come up and hit on that. So we got to check that to make sure it doesn't hit. It probably will. So that just goes in there like that. So first thing you do is time it. You get 2 marks right there. And goes time that one. Put this one in. Pull it up and time it accordingly. Okay, there's all your marks are timed now. So, see how the line up there, dot line there. See how this line is in the middle of the tooth? At the bottom of the tooth, it lines up perfectly with that one. See how this one goes through the top of the tooth? It lines up with that one. Now if you had this one over here, it would be half a tooth off, so you know it'd be wrong. So that's how you tell if you don't have the right one. Because they use this gear up to 77 even though they didn't have this past 69. So you have 2 timing marks on your later bike. They did that until late 77, they changed it. Okay, so right now we're all timed like we're supposed to be. So what we got to do now is check to see if the gear is going to hit. The cam lobe is going to hit on the gear teeth, which I'm pretty sure it's going to. So now you don't want to force it through. We want to see if it's going to hit. So it's that outer one right there. Rotate it this way. And see how it just kind of cleared it there? There, see how it's hitting on it? See how the cam's bouncing up and down a little bit? As you're really close. Now, we don't have the cam cover up here keeping us from going up and down across those teeth, so when you hear it hitting on it, it's probably hitting on those teeth and it'll gouge it up pretty bad. So what we have to do now is go in there and grind away the teeth. There's about 4 of them in there, see that hit? Now some people just cut all the teeth off, but you don't have to cut all the teeth off. You have to cut off some of them. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and mark the gear kind of where I think it needs to be cut. So it looks like somewhere in this general area right here. So let's grab a marker. So starting with about, where are we at here? Somewhere about in this tooth area here. It's about that tooth area right there. So somewhere where that happy face is where we hit. Okay. Now that was 1 rotation. Guess what? It takes 2 rotations to make a 4-stroke run. Right there. Hey, it looks like about the same one, see? About there again. Okay, so we're pretty close. So it only needs to be cut on those ones right there. So that's a good sign. Now these timing marks only come lined up once around. See, we're back around here on the timing. You notice how they're not lined up right now? The mark is up here. Because this runs at half crank speed. These run at crank speed. See how these gears are the same size? This runs at crank speed. This one's twice as big, it runs at half crank speed. This one here, big difference here between here and here, this one runs at half crank speed. So your distributor turns at half speed, it runs at cam speed. All 4-strokes have cams that run at half engine speed. So if you rotate it around, again, It lines up the second time around, see? So just because you pull your motor apart and the cam don't line up at whatever position you were looking at, turn it one revolution and see if it lines up. If it doesn't, then you had a problem. If it lines up the second time around, you didn't have a problem, it was good. Okay, now we pull this cam out. Now, this is the lobe that was dragging right here, and see with no load on it, we haven't put any marks on there. If you had the cam cover on there and hit, it'd leave gouges on top of that lobe, which is not particularly what you want to see. Okay, now, I'm going to go back and grind. Looks like from that timing mark, it's about 4 teeth over. So my guess is probably I'll start at the one past the timing mark, and we'll go one pass here, so that's 6, 7 teeth. I'll progressively come into them, and we only have to grind a little bit. I'm going to check to see what we had to grind. So if we go back and put the cam back in it, see how the cam only comes in there about a 1/4 inch in. Oop, come up a little bit. You can see what I'm looking at. Yeah, there we go, the cam lobe. So it only comes in about a 1/4 inch worth, less than half the gear. It's about a third of the gear. So if you grind half the height of the gear away, you got tons of clearance. If you grind a third of the way, you probably still have enough. Now, it doesn't matter which cam rotation you put that back in at. Just line the marks back up again. No big deal. Okay, so now I got to take this one back and grind this. And we'll do it with the grinder. So we get that set up, and we'll show you how to do that. Alright, back here in the grinding area. So I went ahead and marked, we had our mark right here. So I went ahead and marked the top of the teeth where I want to grind them. I also marked over on the side so I know between this tooth and this tooth is what I'm going to be grinding on. So I got different ways I can grind this stuff. I can use my big grinder here, I like a lot. Come around here and just scab that thing along in there a little bit. You don't have much control because this has a different radius than we really need. You take a flat disc like this and grind the piss out of them. You'll grind more than you want to because it doesn't have a sharp edge, but eventually you'll get it done. You come in there with a hard grinding disc like this, and come across here and do it more like this, go back and forth. A lot of different ways of doing it. We got our surface grinder right here. We can stick it right in here like this and go back and forth like that. You can also go over here in your pedal steel grinder over here. Do the same thing over here. Just lots of different ways to grind this stuff off. It doesn't really matter how you do it as long as it's halfway accurate. So I got pretty good control of this over here. My flat sander, better than my over my. That I don't have as much control as I do with this one. It leaves a flatter surface. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to use this one. See how it works. Now we have to taper this in because the cam lobe comes in at an angle. So it comes in like a crescent shape like this. That's how it sweeps around. So these center ones have to be cut deeper than these outer side ones. So remember that when you're cutting it. So I'm going to go ahead and just the light over here and see better. Go about halfway up the tooth, roughly, and do it. So I ground it, see how progressively got worse and worse and worse. So I got to hold it a little bit straighter. But I'm on the correct piece, see? Yeah. I cut that one, I shouldn't cut that one, but oh well. So, you see how progressively I get deeper and deeper and deeper. So, try to straighten it up a little bit. Straighter. Pretty close on the area that I need to cut. I'll probably cut out a little bit deeper further over. Probably just enough, but I'll give a little more just to make sure. super pretty, but it is what it is. I'm going to go clean this off and we'll see how close we are. We'll be back. Okay, I got this cleaned up a little bit. So there's your 2 marks I was grinding in between. Got a little couple more this way I didn't need to do. Got these ground around, and we blended in the last one right here. So you can see I got progressively deeper in the middle ones here, because that's where the cam lobe's the highest. We just gotta make sure we went over deep enough, further enough across. If not, we'll hit on this edge. So I gotta check that. Go ahead and put it back in and time it like that. Put our cam back in the hole where it belongs. Okay, we're in. Appear to be clearing. I was pushing the cam all the way down as I went across to make sure it wasn't bouncing up. Didn't feel anything hit. So now we know everything's good. So there's the cam timings over here. So cam timing's accurate over here. This one here's a tooth off. It doesn't really matter, but doesn't hurt to make it accurate. Bastard, right back in the same spot. There we go. Okay, so now all the marks are correct. Got an idler gear right here. Go ahead and put that on there too. And check the in-plays of all these parts. Okay. Okay, we grab the gasket we're going to use. Go ahead and put that on there. Here's the cam cover we're going to use. Let's go ahead and put that on there. Oil went someplace right there. I'll put a little bit of dab of oil in here, just so it's not dry. Once you get in the right spot, it goes down fairly good. Goes right on down. You can also use your plastic hammer to hit it with. So you get hard side, soft side. Here it's all the way down. It's good. Okay, now get our screws in here. You don't have to put all the screws in there, but you need to put some of them in. Now the gasket doesn't line up again, just like before. Use our screwdriver to move the gasket up. Of course, now the cam cover's all the way down, so it's got a problem there. But that ain't that big of a problem. Just take the tension off of it. Now you can move the gasket up. Yep. Put a screw in. So if you just force the screw in there, then you're going to tear the gasket up a little bit. We don't have any sealer on here holding the gasket where it belongs. So obviously this gasket wanted to go a little bit low, so I just push it up and it makes the holes line up. Okay, you got one there, one there, one there, one there, and you just put one over here to make sure this side of the cover is where it belongs. When you're doing your in-play checks, you don't have to have these all tightened up, or all the screws in, I mean, but just got to have enough on there that it presses the cover down equally all the way around where it belongs. Obviously, put all these screws in, nothing down here, this thing would be tilted up on you a little bit. Okay, you want to make sure that it still rotates as you tighten these a little bit. That way you know you're not forcing it. These don't have to be full tight, but they need to be pretty tight. Okay, they're all in there. Okay, make sure the motor turns over. A little bit of drag in there. It's a little tight right in this area here for some reason. Tight right through there on that turn. On this turn though it's free. Not sure what that's all about. Cam's not moving. There's no clearance on the thrust washer. Force it over all the way with a screwdriver. So what you do is you put the cam level over here and you go like this. Now if you put too much pressure on, you bend the washer over, but we're just making sure the cam is shoved all the way to one side. And this cam washer should be loose. And it's not moving. So here I can move it on that side a little bit. It's got drag on it. So we're at zero. Okay, it moves a little bit. We're at zero in play. It's got pressure on it. Okay, the other cam over here, the other gear. Blow this up a little bit. So now you'll see if you're any in play in this gear. It appears to have in play. And we got the other gear over here. That's in play. I'm moving in and out like this. So it's tight. It's got tight to get in there, but it's got in clearance. So right now our cam has no clearance. The next one I check is your breather valve. So you rotate around until the screen shows up right there. So you reach down in here with your screwdriver. And move it back and forth. Here a little bit. It's pretty tight, but it's got clearance. There's oil on it, so the oil takes up some of the slack. Okay, the next problem is we don't know what the cam is tight. Now it could be the cam gear itself is tight. We can't check in play if the cam in play is tight. So obviously there's no clearance on it right now I can feel. So right now we got to take the cam cover back off and check and change the thrust washer in the cam and put it back together. So that's what we get to do now. Back and forth process. Also, we got to check to see if the circuit breaker gear has a snap ring on it that holds it down. If so, then we got to go ahead and put the snap ring on there and limit the travel of it. Because we don't want that gear sliding back and forth a lot because it changes the in-play, or changes the ignition time, excuse me, as it slides back and forth because it's a worm gear. Some motors take snap rings to retain those, other ones don't. If it doesn't, we have to shim it so it doesn't move. If you have a snap ring, that'll take up a lot of clearance. You still have to shim it. Sometimes the snap rings get in the way of the cam cover, though, and causes issues. Okay, now we got that out. Now you can rotate the cam over when you get to it again, like we had before, checking the in-play. You put a little pressure on the cam cover and pulls it out a little bit. You can also tap on a little bit with a hammer. That's one way to get it to come off a little bit. See, now there's a gap right here. Or you go back like I did before, you put your hammer handle in here and hit on the other one. And see, that pulls it off a little bit further. That one actually works better. It comes straight out like that. Okay, make sure this isn't tight there. It isn't. Okay, I'm going to towel that. Now, let's see if these have snap ring holes on them. They do. Now we're going to take our spacers that go in there. Put those on there. And looks like they do take snap rings on both of those. So we'll put those on there this time, make sure nothing binds up. I'm going to take this washer off and change it to a thinner one. So I need to find any snap rings and I need a washer. So I'm going to grab those parts real quick. Okay, here's our tray of thrust washers. Okay, this one's a 54.5, so it's 55 thousandths. So we'll drop down to a 50. There you go, 50. See how that works. And I might not free up the cam because it might be that the cam teeth here are tightened with this gear because this gear is too big. You still have that option of being a problem. Okay, the other thing we got to do is get the snap rings for holding this together. Let's see, these things right here. Nope, just lost one somewhere. Yeah, it went someplace. Oh well. Find it. Oh, there it is. Okay, so these are the snap rings here that we use. Yep, put them down, you can see them better. Those would hold the spacers on. I should have put the space on first, but I forgot to. Okay, here's the snap rings. I usually like checking them without the snap rings because sometimes the snap rings are the problem. Yeah, we'll go ahead and check it this way. Screw it. Okay, there's that one on there. Damn it. Go ahead and lubricate this. So let's take it back off again. The other gear I'm taking back off again no matter what. That's it. Tear the gasket up. It's all in there. So you have lots of free play with the cam gear. See, it goes way up and down a lot. So as you move it up and down, plenty of room. Now it doesn't really matter if this thing has a lot of in play, so I don't like putting a washer back there. There's a fiber washer you can put back in there to keep the in play down. It doesn't really matter. At least if you got a lot of clearance, then you don't have to worry about having a problem. Too much doesn't hurt it. Okay, so now this one here has a lot of in-play too, see? Now I will have to shim that up, but first I'm going to put the cam cover on here, because a lot of times the cam cover pushes on a snap ring, which takes away some of the clearances. So we know we have got a good probably 20 thou in there right now. So that's built in. Let's see here. Goes right there. There it goes in. Okay, all our marks line up. So we're good to go. Put this back on, we'll try it again. This is not a one and you're done type deal here. Okay, this time we don't go quite all the way down because we know we got to get these screws in here. So Phillips screwdriver again, lift the gasket up. You can see how that screw moved when I move the gasket. That's how you know it was hitting. Alright. Okay, now we got, see our in play. That's the cam in play. Turn the mode over. See how the tight spot's not there no more? Went away. That's a good sign. So you can feel, you can hear the in play in there. So now you got this back and forth here. There you go. So that's 5 thou in play in it. So you can run it that close, but I don't like it being that close. It's actually 4 thou because we know it's snug. This gasket, when you tighten it all the way down, you probably pull in a couple thou, so it drops you down to only a couple thou clearance, which is just not enough. Once again, I like a lot of clearances on my stuff. Okay, let's go check our circuit breaker gear. Can't get it on my fingers. Okay, see, I've still got a lot of in play on this. So we're going to have to measure that with a feeler gauge and take some of that out. Let's go over and check our breather here. It has almost nothing. Real tight, but it is free. And once again, this should be nice and loose over here. Oh yeah, lots of clearance. Okay, so this breather washer should be loosened up because it's almost at 0, and it might go to 0 when we tighten this down. We're going to need 5 more out of this, but this here we need to find out what we got for in play in here and put some washers of some type, either on that side or on this other side, to tighten it up. So I'm going to go over and get a feeler gauge, which is right here. Somewhere in here is feeler gauge. Yeah, what happened to it? Oh, wonderful. There it is. Knew I had one someplace. So that's your feeler gauge. Whoop. Tripod's hitting on everything. Okay, so let's go see what we got. Okay, these are marked right here what they are. So this one here is 20. This one here is 14. Let's try the 14. 14 is tight. So we'll drop down to a 12. Goes in on that side. It's pretty tight on that side. So we'll try a 10. Tin goes in there, so it's probably got 11. Eleven's tight. So goes right down in there like that. It's tight on this side, loose on this side. So we got 10. So that means we can put a 5 to 7 thou shim in there, probably a 5. That way I got 5 thou in play. And a circuit breaker I run tight, because like I said, when it goes back and forth, it changes your cam timing. And the cam itself, loosen it up. Next thing you want to check is the cam tooth clearance. And tooth to tooth, what you do is you push back and forth in the cam each direction, and you try to feel for backlash or listen for it. So, I don't know if you can really get up in there to see this, but it's hard to hold this and do this. Okay, hear it? Got some backlash in there. Rotate a little bit. Still in there. Rotate some more. Okay, the crank's moving. Still in there. Okay, so that has a little bit of backlash in it. So we can tighten that gear up a little bit, get a little bigger gear. Make that a little bit tighter, get rid of some of that noise, because that can sound like loose valves, just like this does now. It'll let go through the motor and sound like loose valves. Okay, the next thing is we want to check that lobe clearance on that tooth down there that we cut. So what I do is I take a piece of paper, whatever, something like this. Use it as a feeler gauge. Now this is how thick. That's 4 thousandths. So to put together, you got 8 thousandths. Make a little tool out of it. Might have to make a different one. We'll try this one. Yeah, a little bit too hard getting in there. So make me a little bit longer one. So just tear the paper up a little more. So just take a piece of paper here and make it longer. Fold it in half. Crease in it. Where's the camera at? Over here. Okay. So there you go. Now we got a tool. Take it down there, stick it between your lobe. Okay, there's what the lobe is. Can't see shit over there, can you? There you go. Okay. As your lobe comes around, you make sure that this still moves up and down. Come out the other side. So no problem. So we got 8 thou clearance. Now if you fold this in half, again, little crease in it. Now we're up to 16 thou. No problem. So we got plenty of clearance. So we don't have to worry about that hitting. And it's got room for a bigger cam yet. Because when I grind them, I like grinding them for a bigger cam. This cam has like 475, 480 lift on the panhead. Whenever you get over about 440 lift, you start having a problem where it might hit. So, just something you got to deal with. Okay, so I'm going to tighten up the end plate on this gear here a little bit. And technically this can slide closer and get tighter over here, but I put, what, 16 thou worth of clearance in there and only got 5 thou in play here, so, or 10 thou, so at most you don't drop it by much. We'll never hit the side of that lobe. So we're golden on that. So with that clearance we got to work on. And then I'll probably change out the pinion gear, see if I got one that's a little bit bigger, and we'll try that change. And then the breather gear, knock it down 5 would be nice, because it's too tight. So you got all kinds of little stuff you got to deal with. And of course nobody forgot any of that stuff I just said, right? And so now we take it apart again. This would be number 2, at least for today. Remember, we already checked our bushing clearance stuff a couple times, taking it apart the other day. So this cam cover goes on and off a few times. That's why they make twin cams non-adjustable. You don't do any of the work. Just slam it together. Doesn't make it any better, just makes it quicker. One thing about these, we don't have any cam chain problems. So there's benefits to being a gear drive system. Okay. If it doesn't want to come up, use a screwdriver. Now you got a dowel right here and a dowel right here. It's the only places it's hitting, no other places. You don't want to screw up the gasket, so try to push on the outside of the case when you lift it a little bit. That one wasn't the problem. This one over here is the one that's tight. There you go. Pops right off. Okay, so we got to figure out what gear we stuck on here. This is an early Harley gear, yellow red, whatever the hell that means. I wrote down number 3 out of number 8. That's how I keep track of which sizes they're at. There's 8 different color codes. That was number 3. That was out number 3 on the smallest or the biggest. I'm not sure. Probably starting the biggest. We'll have to measure it either way. So we'll pull this out. We know this washer is good, so we don't have to play with it no more. This washer here we know is a little bit thick on the breather, so we need to play with it a little bit. There it is. Yeah, oil's got a lot of holding power. So then we want to thin up a little bit. Put that back in. Now this we want to play with the washer thickness. Now getting these out is a little bit of a pain in the butt, especially if you're by yourself. Basically I just use my fingernail on one side. Try to hold it anyway. Spread it out and try to lift it. Which doesn't work very good usually. So there's some way getting behind it to pick it up. That's what the thumbnail's for. Here, get the chitty out of the edge of the hole there. That one's out. Come across here. There it is, it's out. Use the spacer to lift it up, and it's out. You squeeze it back a little bit like that to tighten it back up. Okay, so we know we need about 5 thou. So we can put a washer between here and a spacer, we can put one on the other side. Doesn't matter where you put it, just need something. We need something that has the right hole size so it doesn't flop around too bad. As I recall, rocker arm shims for a shovel that are about the same. So let me dig, I'll find one of those, we'll be back, and that's the call to.